as things stand, when you look at this, the title race and the table as it is, Cass, is it all about Liverpool now?
Well, no. One thing that struck me after this week's programme, that Arsenal have been leading quite often. If we not just take this year, but take last year as well, for example, where they were in a great position against Man City, they had points advantage and they looked like they could, win the title, which they ultimately didn't because City come from a long way behind. And it's sort of, I felt when they lost to West Ham, and I watched the game, it felt, and they dominated the game in many ways, especially first half. They were, creating chances, it weren't very clinical, but they lost their way during the game in the second half. And it made me feel like, I don't know if this team can lead from the front. I don't know if they're capable of doing that. I feel like in some ways, and I know Arsenal fan will agree with this, that the defeat in some ways, for me, felt, do you know what? It might be better for Arsenal to be chasing Liverpool, or if Man City get above them, and because it's still, look, Villa are still involved big style. But I feel like they don't feel like a team to me that can lead from the front, and that's been proven all the way last season. Because eventually they did get caught, and once they got caught, they fell apart.
So it's a case of leading from the front and staying in front,
staying involved, but having to be the chaser. In some ways, might suit Arsenal. Because is it coincidence all what happened last season? The way they fell apart. And look, they've lost at Villa, and they were top of the table, wasn't they, before the Villa game? And they lost that game. And, yeah, they played well enough. They could have easily got something out of the Villa game. But they are looking a little bit like a side that get a little bit nervy, a bit edgy. I even went back to the 21-22 season when their final 12 games, and they'd won 6. And look, they weren't challenging for the title that year because Man City and Liverpool were way ahead.
It was the top 4 race.
Yeah, but they were fighting for the top 4. And their results at the end of that season, they had 6 wins and 6 losses. And I remember them getting beat up at Newcastle in that period and thinking... And look, players have changed. A number of players have changed and come into the club. But Arsenal definitely feel like a side, to me, there is something about leading and chasing. And some people... Look, Man United and Man City have proven can chase and be leading and finish it off. They can both do that. I just don't see Arsenal doing that at the moment. I feel like they have to try and get over the line at the last moment. That's what they feel like to me.
So is that more of a... does that come down to the mental side of a team?
Well, I think it plays a part. Yeah, I think, of course, there's huge mental pressure. That's why, even if you take the Champions League, why have Real Madrid been a side that so often have not been a great side? They get out of their group phase in the Champions League, but by March or Feb, they're a much different team. They look like a team that can go on and win it because they've had experience. It's in the DNA of the club. I don't feel like that's there with Arsenal. I don't see that as a side that when they're under pressure, and yes, they have a young manager, they have still a relatively lot of young players, a number of them unproven in challenging for a title. That's why he brought in Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, because of what they done for Man City. He was trying to add to Arsenal.
But is there not sort of a case of saying, look, they'll have learned from last season and the heartache, the
heartbreak? That's what you hope. That's what you hope. But I'm not sure when they get the lead, they feel like a team that is hanging on to it. I remember I went to Arsenal quite a lot last year, watched quite a number of games, and it felt like huge. But the fans were so excited, and they felt like the 12th man, and they were brilliant in that. But sometimes I felt the fans... the players' reaction to the fan, they feel like everything was an urgency, too much urgency, instead of saying, look, we can win this and we can win it in 90 minutes by being, just mentally strong. And I didn't feel like that was Arsenal. That struck for me. When I'm watching them against West Ham in midweek, I thought they got caught up chasing the game, and they just didn't look they was unable to, and fair play to West Ham. They defended really well. It's a real structured team performance by them. But you have to overcome that if you're going to be champions. Obviously, there's been a few changes in the Liverpool side. We know about the midfield rebuild. Do they have the mental ability to hold on now? Well, Klopp certainly does because he's done it before, So I do feel that he as a manager, I don't think Liverpool is as good. And I said, if Liverpool are going to win, I'll repeat myself, Darwin Núñez has to score goals on a regular basis to contribute to that team win the title. At the moment, they're top. Man City are the worst version of themselves, really, because they've not played well in the first half of the season and they're hanging around. Like I said about Real Madrid, Man City will probably be the team that steamroll and come challenging the top of the table, because they're capable of doing that. And so that's already been proven. So, you know, they're still the bookies' favourites now, Man City to win the title. I'm looking at the table thinking Liverpool, yeah, absolutely fantastic. And it is a real build, because like Jurgen Klopp said in the paper today, 2023 was a disaster for him. You know, and what happened in 23, how they didn't put up any challenge, didn't make the Champions League. You know, so it's been a really tough year for him. Yet he's emerged with a new Liverpool team, with a new midfield, and certain players have come in. But they all have to be nervous about Man City. And I think, you know, Arsenal, they've got to go to the Etihad as well, haven't they, Arsenal? So
yes, and of course Man City 5 points off top spot with a game in hand. So if they were to win that, which is against Brentford,
but they'd leapfrog Arsenal, wouldn't they, if they won the game in hand?
They would,
on goal difference.
As it stands right now, yes, certainly. But obviously, like I'm saying, 5 points at the currently is the difference. That would cut it down to 2, but they still have to play all of these teams again in the reverse fixtures. So yes, the title race is certainly hotting up.